that movie nut here with a review for Judge Dredd, the 1995 comic book action movie starring Sylvester Stallone, Armand Assante, Diane Lane, Rob Schneider, and Max von Sydow. Set in the far future, the story follows Judge Dredd, the ultimate lawman, who is framed for murder by his now escaped arch-enemy Rico, an ex-judge who now desires control of the sea. Escaping from the prison ship after a crash, Judge, along with the help of a convict played by Rob Schneider and one of his former associates, Judge Hershey, played by Diane Lane, Dredd must figure out what Rico's conspiracy and discover just how corrupt the law has become, and in the process save the sea from Rico's evil plans. The acting all around, it ranges from decent to questionable. Stallone is his usual tough guy self as Judge Dredd, with plenty of chin mugging under that helmet for what little he wears it. Diane Lane is respectable as Judge Hershey, playing a stronger role than she is typically associated with, and while not exactly making the character memorable, giving her some genuine emotion. Max von Sydow as the senior judge of course delivers his usual good, as does Armand Assante, who is clearly having fun as the villain Rico. Rob Schneider, on the other hand, what can be said about Rob Schneider? I mean, he tries, but throughout, Rob Schneider just delivers unfunny lines and tries to be sort of the sarcastic commentator of the scene, which unfortunately doesn't work well, and he comes off most of the time as very irritating. Of course, the big selling point here is the action scenes and the special effects, and to be fair, they're done pretty well, considering this is 1995, and do show some impressive model shots, particularly in the opening of the camera sweeping through the city, not to mention the fantastic look of the dystopian world. And the action scenes themselves, as I said, aren't half bad, with the speeder bike chase through the city between Dredd and the other judges a highlight, and done pretty well, it has to be said. And the musical score by Alan Silvestri, while not memorable, is also pretty good, being exciting when it needs to be exciting, being dramatic when it needs to be dramatic, and being, well, calm and subdued when it needs to be. However, the big thing here, as with all my other reviews, is the script. Unfortunately, for all the special effects and action scenes, the script is a major letdown. There is so many high ideas here, like the idea of law being corrupted, conspiracies, genetic mutations, and fiddling with science. So many great ideas here, but they're all relegated to almost just either unbelievable or just not very interesting, which is a great shame because there are a lot of great ideas here to play with. Not to mention the shoehorning in of Rob Schneider's character is obviously there just to cater to action cliches, but it serves no purpose in the story. Apart from disabling the Rico's robot at the end, Rob Schneider's character serves no real purpose and is there just to whine. And that brings down the pacing and just the feel of the movie. There are a lot of moments here where the film tries to be serious, but it's very hard to do that when you've got Schneider in the background mugging, or Stallone delivering some of the most cliched one-liners I have ever seen in an action. I mean, considering it's a little over an hour and a half, it runs at a good pace, but the pacing really is defeated by just the lackluster script. The lines here are just incredibly cliched and sound like something that a teenager writes when he's on a scripting course. The characters don't speak very naturally. They speak in your typical stilted action lines, and that really hurts this film, because you have to remember that Judge Dredd, was just as much about sort of high political issues as it was about action or comedy or any of the other things that you'd expect from a typical comic book. And that's not here. All we get is just very watered down versions of things that could have made this film stand out considerably. And the thing is, Danny Cannon and the cast try to do what they can with it, but there's just nothing here to work with. It's just boring, it's dull, and it's just not very interesting. And the fact that it plays out less like a actual Judge Dredd comic and more like the pretty much action movie 101 is just a complete sham, and it is truly sad that a movie with this much money and this caliber of star power in it was wasted on such a weak flimsy script. So, in conclusion, I must give Judge Dredd a bronze star. The script is just pathetic. Everything else moves well enough, but the script is just so cliched and just so unoriginal and just not very inventive. For what it is, it's an enjoyable kind of movie that you can pop on a Friday night with a beer and a pizza, but apart from that, there are so many much better comic book films and action films out there.